Inflation fears have dominated this week's Asian Development Bank meeting in Hanoi. Just how much rising prices matter was brought home in a stark admission by the steward of one of Asia's economic powerhouses.
If the oil prices continue to exert its pressure at the existing level, it would be difficult for us to manage both inflation and achieve higher GDP growth. Our GDP growth may come down to around 8%.
Despite the fact that battling inflation could come at the expense of growth, the region's policymakers from Vanuatu to Vietnam say they're doing just enough to contain rising prices. Countries say they are now willing to do whatever is necessary, including cutting spending, hiking interest rates, and tightening other controls on credit.
The important thing for Vietnam is that we are determined to control, to curb inflation.
But the worry is that the actions of Asian authorities alone may not be enough. Some say today's price pressures run much deeper. Rising food and oil prices are a big part of the story. But there's growing recognition that the root of the problem has much to do with misaligned policies between developed and emerging economies. If that's the case, inflationary pressures may be much more deeply entrenched than previously feared. While inflexible exchange rates in Asia may have exaggerated the problem, many blame loose monetary policy in the West that has unleashed a wave of liquidity that has hit emerging markets hard. Calls are now growing for increased coordination between nations to avoid unwanted spillover effects from domestically focused policies.
We need a much more powerful coordination framework in the G20 because I think it's too easy for the U.S. to follow a monetary policy which they feel is suited for the United States, but hasn't adequately taken into account the global framework in which it operates.
Much has been said in Hanoi about the importance of working together. But if the inflationary pressures we're seeing in the developing world take hold in the West, the question is how willing policymakers there will be to think beyond their own national borders.